Both Eaton Corporation and Plexus Corporation received millions of dollars in financial awards from WEDC, only to later lay off workers. Their jobs were taken by employees at the company's foreign facilities. One of the companies received a second award from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation even after the fact. WEDC spokesman Mark Malley says, quote, even the loss of one job in Wisconsin is one too many.
In a 27 News investigation tonight, we have learned that the only privately held properties being marketed for industrial development by the state are owned by donors to Governor Scott Walker. Two of them are in Dane County, Liberty Business Park off Highway M in Verona, and Phase 2 of the Fitchburg Technology Campus near Fish Hatch and Lacey Roads. The owners of those properties and another in Washington County have donated more than $41,000 to Governor Walker since 2010. Why is the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation marketing these properties?
Well, it's part of the agency's Certified in Wisconsin program, which promotes shovel-ready sites where businesses can establish major industrial facilities. Local governments own 10 of the 13 sites, but the private properties that were picked are all owned by major Walker donors.
It's your chance to make it right. Are you ready to apologize to the people of Wisconsin for hiring the 27-year-old son of one of your major campaign donors who's a lobbyist, and that individual had no college education, very little managerial experience, and had 2 drunk driving convictions and was hired for an $81,000 a year job when you obviously had better qualified applicants? Are you ready to make an apology today to the people of Wisconsin? That doesn't sound like good government to me. Noted that 2 of the highly qualified candidates for that administrative post were Oscar Herrera, a former state cabinet secretary under Republican Governor Scott McCollum, who had a doctoral degree and 8 years of experience overseeing the cleanup of petroleum-contaminated sites. The second, Bernice Madison, was a professional engineer who served since 2003 in the post to which Mr. DeShane was appointed and had 25 years of experience in state government. And since the whole focus of this hearing is on good government practices and how that affects the debt that states have, I think it's time that we got some straight answers from the people who are radically reforming state governments, and that's why this is so important. And I would ask the chairman to hold a hearing, and I've got a letter for the chairman, since we have broad jurisdiction according to the committee's website, to look into the other factors that are impacting state budgets, including cronyism in state government. And I've got a letter to the chairman to that effect.
More problems at the state's Economic Development Agency. Leaders of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation said today the agency lost track of $69 million in loans to businesses. When the agency was created last year, no one apparently tracked the loans that the Commerce Department had already granted. Of that $69 million, about $9 million is past due or in default. WEDC officials still trying to figure out what happened. Just this week rather, the agency, led for another couple of weeks by former Green Bay Mayor Paul Jaden, came under fire for not being clear about where the money is going.
And a string of missteps at the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation came to light 4 days ago. Agency leaders admitted they never put someone in charge of making sure companies were repaying loans they had gotten from the state.
While Governor Walker chats with hunting retailers in the Dells, there's no camouflaging the problems plaguing the job creation agency he pushed creation of when he took office. News reports indicate more than $12 million is at risk because of the lack of loan oversight. The WEDC has hired a new accounting firm and a financial oversight group. It says will keep better track of the loans.
Both for the taxpayers, we ultimately want to be accountable, but we also want to be accountable so we know to the board of directors what sorts of decisions we made about loans in the future, and which are the ones that are truly productive in terms of helping protect or create more jobs and which ones are not.
The governor blamed the mistakes on the transition from the former Department of Commerce to the WEDC, which happened in 2011. Now he says new leaders he handpicked will fix things.
We came in and you've essentially had stability at the top for some time, much longer than they had in the past. But there are, with the new agency, going to be some issues that have to be dealt with. This is one of those.
But this is not the only incident at the WEDC. First, the discovery that state tax credits had improperly been offered to a company competing for a state contract. Then the spending of $10 million in federal money without the authority to do so. There have been resignations all the way to the top of the agency. About a month ago, former CEO Paul Jaden left for a job with Madison-based Thrive, the economic development partnership for South Central Wisconsin.
And the independent audit and financial review are scheduled to be finished later this month. We, of course, will follow up with him then.
All right, Theo Keith reporting. Theo, thank you.
Yeah.
Wisconsin's embattled job creation agency, first headed by former Green Bay Mayor Paul Jaden, has a new leader.
Governor Walker traveled the state to announce the new head of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation today. And that man is interim CEO Reed Hall. The governor praised Hall during a stop in Ashwaubenon this afternoon. Critics have already expressed their concerns. Fox 11's Beth Jones brings us balanced coverage.
The public-private agency was created to promote economic development in the state. However, recent reports identified a number of problems within the agency, such as poor record-keeping and lack of basic accounting controls. Despite the work ahead, Hall says he's ready. Governor Walker bypassed recommendations of a committee that conducted a nationwide search for the job.
In the end, because I valued the role of those board members, I then took their advice when they told me I should strongly consider interviewing Reed Hall.
However, not everyone is as confident. Democratic Assembly leader and WEDC board member Peter Barca released a statement saying he hoped that the search would bring a CEO with extensive economic development experience to turn around our state's troubled jobs agency. Other Democrats agree.
There are a lot of problems going on over there at the agency, and they failed to create the jobs that we're looking for. So it's a tall order, and I hope he's ready for it.
Despite the initial hesitation, both representatives say they're willing to work with Hall to better Wisconsin. In Ashwaubenon, Beth Jones, Fox 11 News.
There are a few answers about credit card spending, how or even if programs are working, and whether some policies the Wisconsin's Economic Development Corporation is using may break state law.
Lawmakers say the findings of a legislative audit show gross mismanagement at the agency Governor Walker championed. Political reporter Jessica Arp is here and getting answers. Jess.
Well, this is the latest in a long line of audits that have shown problems at the job creation agencies. Today's has some new revelations, and some lawmakers say they're running out of patience. A 100-page report has a laundry list of problems and suggested changes at the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, the state's public-private agency tasked with helping create jobs. Among its findings, the Legislative Audit Bureau says the agency didn't have sufficient policies to administer their programs, including some required by law. Funding was given to ineligible companies and projects and above specified limits, and that WEDC employees were making credit card purchases they didn't explain, including Badger tickets and iTunes gift cards. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle now say after 2 years of existence, WEDC needs to prove they are on the right track.
They had a fair amount of time, and they're running, I'm running out of patience and excuses. I know that other legislators are also. So they may have fixed all these things in recent months, but until we actually see the proof of that, we won't know.
I'm saying I would give them one more year. I would have an audit done next year. And if these serious problems are not cleared up, then I think it's time to abandon this experiment.
The report outlines a number of recommendations for the agency and its board, including to create policies for running their tax credit programs, monitor their expenditures, and establish, quote, an accurate annual budget and develop expected results for each economic development program. Lawmakers have already scheduled a hearing on this on May 9th, and a spokesman for the governor today said only that the agency had taken proactive measures to address its issues and that the governor is, quote, confident in the direction of the WEDC.
Jessica Arp reporting tonight. Jess, thanks.
More issues for the state's Economic Development Agency. Lawmakers are now calling for a follow-up audit to the agency to see if it has improved its operation.
The Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, or WEDC, was created at the request of Governor Scott Walker to replace the state's Commerce Department. Part of what the agency does to help spur economic growth and create jobs is provide loans to communities. Last year, the WEDC implemented a regional loan consolidation program so cities like Seymour could access a larger pool of loan money. However, a 100-plus page report by the state's Legislative Audit Bureau outlines a litany of complaints about the agency's practices in 2012. The report found numerous examples where the agency did not consistently follow the law or existing policies when making awards. It also said the WEDC had no policies for determining how to handle delinquent loan amounts. The audit is raising questions on both sides of the political aisle about the WEDC's future, including whether it should continue to receive state funds.
I would certainly hesitate to give them any new money until we felt far more comfortable with what they're doing with the old money. So at this point, there's a lot of discomfort.
We'd ask that the governor and his CEO appear before the audit committee, and if these problems aren't corrected, that we reform WEDC and return to a competent model.
But clearly, there's going to have to be more aggressive efforts. A lot of it's cleaning up some of the things from the old Department of Commerce.
They say that they're going to fix these problems. We will see. We won't know for sure until there's another follow-up audit done based on what they say that they've done.
Governor Walker says he's open to a follow-up audit. A hearing on the just-released audit is scheduled for May 9th. To read the full report, go to fox11online.com and head to the News Link section.